Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now it's been a week since Blackpool, missing it already and I can't wait till next year. But what I thought might be quite nice is to reminisce and go over some of the previous Blackpools, because what I've done is I've actually collected the programs since I've been going. So I've got them all here. I thought I could have a quick look through them and maybe we can share our experiences of Blackpool together. But yes, I've been collecting these Blackpool programs, and that's obviously that cool that I might even take up train spotting, hey. But a shout out to Simon Lockett, because I've been collecting these since I've been going in 2022. Sorry, like the light's shining off there. I've been collecting these since 2022, and there was one I was always missing, and that was 2023's. So he very kindly sent me in the post. So Simon, if you're watching this, thank you very much for sending that. Now, why collect Blackpool programs other than just a quick look through? Let me tell you, there's a real good reason to have one of these, or have all of these. First of all, just a quick bit of background. So 2022, when the first time I actually went, and that was obviously the first one they had since lockdown, I only went as a day trip. That was all I did. I didn't really know anybody in Magic that well. I mean, I knew some people, but not really on a friends level, maybe an acquaintance level. And they always sort of say Blackpool can be quite a lonely experience if you're on your own, and that is very, very true. It's such a strange feeling to be surrounded by so many people and yet still feel so lonely. 2022 was the first time I went, and then I did 2023 as a day trip as well, and only 2024 did I go as the first time experiencing the whole thing, and it was amazing, and now I've gone every year since. And also, that's the first year that I went and actually was on the dealer stand, and have been selling on the dealer stand as well. So that's been like a nice experience, learning experience for me as well, as I've been doing it with Colin Klaus and Kev G, the other two members of our CCC Magic stand. So why have programs? Well, the good thing is, and the thing I find beneficial to have these is, quite often you go to Blackpool and you'll not be aware of an artist or a magician until you've been to Blackpool. And what can happen is, because there's so much going on there, when you come away from it, you can forget who these people are. And what I often find sometimes is I'll go back over and go, okay, well, what was that? What was that magician that really impressed us? Who was that magician I'd never heard before? And then you can just find their name and look up online about them. Maybe you want to know some of the products they have, or maybe they have a set of lecture notes that you want to get hold of, or you just wanted to be inspired by what they do. So things like that. So I do find that as a nice resource to go over. Now, if I look at this one, the 2022 program, and it's interesting how they've evolved over the years. You can tell the design of them. This one's quite a shiny one, this one's not. And then some of them get bigger, especially the newest one of 2026, because obviously it was a lot bigger a convention. And I absolutely love the 4 days. I think we should do that all the time. The very first thing I actually saw at Blackpool, other than going around the dealer stands, was the UK Family Entertainer of the Year competition. I remember watching, and I remember being very impressed by Jamie Jigsaw. I'd never heard of him before, never seen him before, and his performance, the way he carried his audience, how much he entertained them, how much he entertained me, was really exceptional. I really enjoyed it, and I told him so afterwards. This was the year that Jez won this, because his photo isn't on there, and I believe a magician had to drop out, and he stepped in at the last minute, and he ended up winning it, and deservedly so. He was very, very good, as were all the acts of that year as well. And going on to 2023's program, I remember people saying this, for example, like everyone were talking about Mike Hammer, and I was like, it's interesting to me because I'd heard of Mike Hammer years ago, because I remember going to Vegas and I saw his comedy show, and I thought he was absolutely hilarious. There's a picture of him in there. And it was just interesting for people to talk about him, including Xavier Mortimer as well. Fantastic magician. He has, I think he still has his show on the Vegas Strip, but so much you can learn from just watching his performance. And that's another thing, going back to the UK family children's entertainer or family entertainer of the year competition, I always find it's very beneficial to watch a competition because you learn so much about your own act. When I watch that, I'm not watching it to steal people's tricks or just go, oh, they do that trick, I'm going to get that trick. That's not what you should, that's not what I take away from it, and I don't think that's what you should take away from it. What you should take away from watching these competitions is how a act starts and how it finishes, especially on an opera stage. You get quite a few children's entertainers, which is out of their comfort zone. How do they cope with the size of the crowd increase? What were the highlights of the show? What were the lowlights? And more importantly, at what point, I use it as a mirror, at what point would you be there, and at what point would your act start to, dip, or would it actually carry the crowd in those moments? And so I try to then shape some more of my routines in my regular set for my children's, family and close-up acts, and try and shape them accordingly so they play to bigger audiences, to wider audiences. And watching those competitions really does help with that. Sorry, that was a very long-winded answer, wasn't it, for that? Anyway, back to 2023's program, and I found looking back has just reminded me how little I actually get to do with Blackpool. For a start, it didn't help that 2022 and 2023, I was only there for the day, and my main aim was to look around the dealer stands. But the lecture that I ended up watching, or rather my first lecture of Blackpool, was by Dov Citron. I've known Dov for years, but for some reason I don't know how to say his surname properly. Sorry, Dov. Watched his one. It was on that Friday in the morning, and that was a really, really good lecture. I especially liked the bits where he talked about, especially in his lecture notes, about theatre shows. That was interesting to me and very informative. So yeah, that's all I got to do with that year. I'd left by the time the Gala show started because I had to work the next day. So on to 2024, which is quite a glossy cover there. So this one I saw more because obviously I was there for the entire event. So the first thing I saw, which was on the Friday, was a lecture, and that was by Paul Romney. That was very good, about mime and stage. I do like to see, even though I'm a children's entertainer and close-up magician, I do like to see acts that are not within those, normally within that sort of genre, because you can learn a lot, you really can. And a friend of mine who came with me that year saw the Shoot a Gower show and really enjoyed that. In fact, speaking of Shoot a Gower, I'm pretty sure, yes, on the Saturday, I ended up watching the Shoot a Gower lecture. That was really, really good. Everybody who watched it was blown away. It was so impressive. This was the first year I saw a Gala show, and it was the Friday Gala show. So that evening I watched my first one, and I was very impressed by Young Min, who's over here. He was the 2020 FISM winner, and his act involved sand, and it had a Hans Zimmer music piece to it from the Prince of Egypt. Absolutely loved that. And the highlight of that performance is when you see a metal ring just seemingly melt away and the sand falls right off it. It just melts into sand. It's really, really good. If you haven't seen it, you can check it out on YouTube. But that was a real highlight for me. I was already aware of Axel Adler because I have his Penguin Live lecture, and it's always nice to see John Kimmons do his bit as well. Oh, actually, and I should mention, Adrian Quillen. This is a classic example of someone I'd never heard of, and I think not just myself, everyone was absolutely blown away by him. So good. And Winston Furmeyer, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I wasn't aware of him at the time. I remember liking what he did, but I've become more aware of his work. He might have even won a recent FISM, I think, or very impressed at it. His stuff is amazing. Check his stuff out, so especially some of his products are very, very unique. Going on to, this is the year, of course, Matt King turned up as well, or the second year. I'm getting those two mixed. On the Sunday, I did the Danny Goldsmith lecture. That was a real highlight for me. That was something I was really excited about before we went to the convention that year, because I do a lot of coin magic, and a lot of it is inspired by Danny Goldsmith's work. for sure, 100%. And that lecture did not disappoint. It's now going on to 2025's Blackpool programme, and I'm only just skipping across this because I don't want to bore you with it. Tom Wright's one-man show, very, very good. I didn't see that at Blackpool, but I have seen it since. Very, very good. Do you know, this is a classic example of what you just don't get to do at Blackpool sometimes. Because I was working on the stand for the first time with Kev and Colin that year, the Jack Rhodes show was on and finished. It was about 5 o'clock. I was absolutely knackered. And those two were like, probably, I think they just took it in their stride. They were already used to it. So they went off to the Jack Rhodes show because it started not long after we finished the dealer stand. And I was just way too tired. I had to go back to my room, put my feet up, say hi to the family before my kids went to bed. And then by the time I was re-energized to go back out again, the show had already finished. I was a bit gutted to miss that. And I've missed it again this year with 2026. Didn't get to see that either, which is a shame, but maybe one day I'll see it. So of this year, of 2025, because I was working full-time on the stand, I only ended up seeing one lecture this year, and what a good lecture it was. I was intending to see Bon Lee's lecture because I love all his stuff. I love his stand. MS Magic is amazing. And another one I was thinking of going to was Hansen Chen, but I didn't go to that. I just got caught up with what was going on that day. But I saw Alex Hilsey. I'd never heard of her before, until just prior to Blackpool, because I like to look up the artist just prior. And she'd been on Penn and Teller for us, and she is primarily a street magician. And it was really, her lecture was really interesting. Some of the things that they teased, I was like, yes, I would really like to know about those sort of things. And what's really nice is you see a lecture and the things you learnt from it, some of the little tips, some of the way they might carry certain props on them, things like that. I still use those today. In fact, I did a show and there are still parts of that, not her repertoire, but like I said, the way she carries certain props on her, I still use those today. And so that was a really good lecture, and her lecture notes were very, very good as well. I do like lecture notes where it explains it, but it also has a QR code. You can read in the comfort of your own time, but also see on the screen it all play out. I think that's a very good way of doing things. I wish I'd saw Jackie Hughes. Wasn't that familiar with him at the time, but Jackie Hughes stuff is really, really good. Another magician who I was very impressed with was a koi magician, Avi Yap. He did a lecture on the Sunday. I didn't get to watch it, but what I did appreciate was the night before in the Ruskin, we had a really long jamming session, and it was lovely to sit down with him, and it really helped improve my koi magic. This was another one I was interested in seeing. Didn't get to see it, but they did a lecture, and they were talking a lot about what they did at the Edinburgh Fringe, and I think I would have benefited from seeing that, and I did hear a lot of positive comments about theirs. And here is Bill Sharp. Bill Sharp won the family comp that year, so that was another thing I remember doing. I remember watching that. Finally, to wrap this little vlog up, we come to the 2026 Blackpool programme, and you certainly notice the size increase, what with the extra day, which is nice. I do like this. I like the way, when you look at all these programmes, how they evolve over the years. And I like this. It's something simple, but it's a nice way to sort of section the whole thing up and tease each day with literally in big bold day one, and then it goes through. I do like the way this is all laid out. One thing Kev did was he watched the international close-up show with Tobias Dostal and Mayong Lee, and I did hear some positive comments about that. I did see, this is the one lecture I did this last week, was the Mayong Lee's lecture. Very, very good. I do ball manipulation in my show. He was a master at it. It was nice to learn some new techniques. But more importantly, one thing that he does so well, and I only realised this in his lecture, was his timing, how he incorporates his music into his act. I mean, literally every beat had played into how his hand movements went. You'd have to see, it was so amazing. But how much charm he had, and how entertaining he was, aside from his skill, how entertaining he was to his audience. It was just something that he projected on the whole audience, and it went down so well. And also his flash tricks, I'd already seen that trick, where he does the matrix with the wand, and then he was doing it with like torn and restored cards. It was incredible. Family Entertainer of the Year competition as well. I did watch that one. Again, like I said, it's always good to watch competitions. You learn so much, you really do. Our stand had to close down on Sunday at lunchtime because that was already part of the plan. We had to go back because we had work and family commitments, so we had to leave at that time. So one show I didn't get to see and I really wanted to see it was the Adam B lecture. I remember seeing one of Dan Trix's vlogs on YouTube, and he featured on it doing some really amazing wand moves. I used wand in my children's show, and he had a move I'd never seen before, and it actually does belong to him. So I messaged him, and he very kindly showed me how to do it. Which, Adam, if you're watching this, thank you very much. I really did appreciate that. But yeah, so, and it was through looking through this book did I know what his name was, because I saw him on that vlog, and then I found his name in this book. It proves its worth. So yeah, once again, I just want to highlight how great it is to have these books, and I will continue to collect the ones that come out in the years to come. I mean, the best thing is, it's always great to pick this up on the first day, and I had to actually ask for this because the dealers don't naturally get one. So I just went up to the registration desk, asked for one, and they happily gave me one. But it's a nice way to get really excited about the whole event. The first day you arrive, you get this, I go back to my hotel room and just have a little flick through it, and it just really just sets me up for the whole weekend. It's really, really great. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too long. I hope it wasn't boring. If it was, I do apologise. But I just thought might be quite nice just to reminisce about previous Blackpools. Let me know, what was your favourite Blackpool? Was there a favourite performer that you liked? Was there a performer that you'd never heard of and they really changed your thinking on magic? Was there a competition you watched or a gala show that really just changed your outlook on magic in general? Let me know in the comments below. So I want to thank you again for tuning in, and until next time, take care.